morning, everyone. My name is Samantha Mowat. I'm a clairvoyant psychic and a contactee. And isn't it amazingly beautiful out? Look at all the snow! How great is this? Oh, I've been waiting for snow. We haven't had snow for 2 weeks, and I'm so happy it's coming back. It makes sense to have snow in northern British Columbia, Canada, in January. Anyway, getting back to the point. I would like to share with you an encounter that I had on June 14th, 2014. And this encounter is different than a lot of the other encounters I'd had up until that point for a number of reasons. The first of which is, even to this day, I'm not quite sure whether it was extraterrestrial, multidimensional, or some form of combination between the two. And the reason being is it was more of a Milab encounter. And for those of you who are unaware, Milab is someone who has military-based abductions. Sometimes it is just the government who is taking this person, or it can be extraterrestrials abduct someone, then the government comes afterwards and abducts them to try to determine the reasoning behind the interest on the extraterrestrial behalf, or seeing what the extraterrestrials may have done to someone to modify them, or things of that nature. Now, getting back to the encounter, it was very odd for me, because I went to sleep that night, and it felt like I had no sooner closed my eyes than I found myself suddenly in this very gray hallway. The walls were, well, it was rectangular in shape. It was quite a long hallway. There was no artwork on the walls. There was nothing to add character or charm or personality to this place. And the thing that I noticed is I sensed energy behind me quite quickly, and on either side behind me there was a very large militarily dressed man. And each one of the men had their arm wrapped around my arm like this, moving me forward down this hallway. And while I'm looking around and going, okay, where am I? What's going on? What's happening? Because at first I thought, okay, this is an encounter I've never had anything like. And then they moved me into this elevator. And the interesting thing around this elevator is I only saw up and down for buttons. And at the top above the door, there wasn't really like the normal number sequence like you would see going floor 1 through whatever. Instead, there was just a up arrow and a down arrow. And so, while I'm looking around, I'm noticing that this elevator isn't terribly big, but it's gray and it's metal, but it didn't have that same feeling like you have when you go in an elevator where you can feel it moving you up or moving you down. It felt like it was very effortless, very seamless. So I think there was more advanced technology behind this elevator. So anyway, while this was happening and I looked at the light, I saw the little light going flash, flash, flash on the bottom arrow, and I counted the flashes. It went 1, 2, 3, all the way until it got to 14. So I knew I was 14 floors below, pardon me, whatever floor I had started out on. And then when the doors opened, they moved me very quickly out of this elevator, and as we're walking down another hallway, I can see ahead of us is this very large room that is divided into 2 sections. There is a wall directly, like let's say you're looking straight ahead, and here's what I'm looking at, this hallway. And in the middle right here, I was seeing a partial divider wall between this large open space that we were walking up to. And off to the left side, I saw surgical beds, I saw people wearing scrubs, I saw lab coats, I saw face masks over these people. I also saw chairs, like not comfortable sitting chairs, but chairs that you would sit in if you're going to a dentist or something like that, like padded and full body chairs. And when I looked off to my right, I saw what looked like day beds or recovery beds like you would see at a hospital. And this made me very anxious, and I was starting to have an anxiety attack. I remember digging my feet and going, no, I don't want to go this way, you can't take me this way. And while I'm looking around, I'm pleading and begging, and I'm asking these people not to do this. But the surgeons and the medical staff that were there, they weren't like us. They weren't like normal people or humanoids. Rather, they had a different energy to them. I could feel as my energy body began to merge with theirs, because I'm trying to read their energy, I'm trying to plead with them and have that connection between them, that they did not share that same energetic resonance where we can read into the energy of someone else, and if they're in pain, we would begin to feel pain. They didn't have that. They had no empathy. In fact, as I put my energy in towards theirs, I noticed that these people, and I use the term people loosely, because I'm still not even sure that they are people, they looked at me like I was an insect that wasn't desirable, like it was something that they didn't want to, well, that they didn't have any consideration towards, like I was nothing more than a lab rat or a test subject. And when I was walking over towards the surgical room, because they're guiding me in that area, it just got brighter. Interesting. When I was walking over towards that area, I looked off towards my right, and there on the right, I saw this young man, and he looked like he was in his mid-30s, and as soon as I saw him, I recognized him. I looked at him and I saw brown hair, I saw 5'8", 5'10", somewhere in there. I saw him wearing scrubs, but he was not wearing a lab coat, so I knew that he was not involved in necessarily the medical aspect of facilitating tests or for doing anything like that, but rather I knew that he was here as some form of, I'm not sure what they're called, the people that clean up from the doctors and the nurses, one of those type positions. And when I made eye contact with him, I had this very interesting past life memory come forward where I had known this man. In a past life, I can't remember whether, actually I'm pretty sure he was a nurse and I was a midwife and we were working side by side. But this felt like it was a very long time ago, but it didn't feel like he was a nurse in the conventional sense that we would use in the last 100 years or two. But rather he was someone who practiced medicine and had more of that base of knowledge. That was the closest thing that I could compare him to from what I was seeing and what I was perceiving. And when I looked into his eyes, he had that same recognition with me, where it was just so intense. And I remember looking at him saying, please stop them, please don't let them do this. But he looked at me with this expression of, there's nothing I can do and you're just going to have to go through with it. Now, this is the first time that I recall very strongly being taken to a deep underground medical facility. And when I woke up the next morning, I was having an anxiety attack. I couldn't handle how I was feeling. I felt like, oh no, now they know where I am. They are able to come get me whenever they want. This isn't just extraterrestrials. This isn't just multidimensionals. It added a whole different component that I wasn't aware of. And so I did what many of you would do. I went straight onto YouTube. I went straight onto Google and I started looking up this information, trying to get a better idea of what it was that happened to me. And one thing I've noticed since then is since 2014, I've actually had quite a few Milab encounters. And it seems like every 6 months, or sometimes less than that, I find that I'm taken to these deep underground medical facilities, and I have blood taken from me, or I'll have these really weird tests done to me. And when you have stuff like that happen, you typically find that these beings aren't necessarily considerate, and that's something that still throws me off to this day. They don't respond to the same telepathic communication. They don't respond to the same energetic bond that you try to form with anyone that you're having encounters with. It's so different. And another thing that I've really noticed around this that kind of throws me off, they're aware of what goes on in our lives. They're aware of when we move. They're aware of who we're in contact with. But it seems like they do have an aspect behind the alien love bites scenario, because I feel as though they are very much so working with some of the negative groups, trying to have an awareness of which people trigger certain emotions within us. And part of the reason why I say that is in other encounters, I seem to see the same people over and over. Whether it's finding myself pulled out of my body and thrust to another world where I'm with the same 5 or 6 other people, and it's annoying zombie apocalypse scenarios going over again, or war scenarios and you're expected to survive, or being pulled to an extraterrestrial planet and things of that nature where you're having just the same 5 or 6 people that you're seeing on the other side, and you try to have an understanding of it, and you try to get an idea of, okay, so this is the information I can find out about these encounters, but a lot of it doesn't necessarily resonate. And then I look at these beings when I'm with them, these humans that are in these military uniforms, and sometimes they say that you've made an agreement to do this, and I think it's like, I haven't made an agreement in this life. And you try to break all bonds in all direction of time and all contracts and agreements. And a lot of people have said to me, well, why can't you just do that, where you break those agreements, cut those cords? Well, it doesn't necessarily work like that, or at least to the best of my knowledge and in my experience, it has not until this point. But I'm going off on a tangent, so I'm going to let you go. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I wish you peace, love, and light. Oh, one more thing before I forget. In March of this year, so 2017, I'm going to be speaking at California UFO Con, and this is going to be held in San Francisco. I posted the dates on my website. I'm so excited. Lorian Fenton is going to be the one who's putting it all together and making it such an exciting thing for those of you who are interested in coming to the United States and talking to different experiencers or researchers or learning more about ufology in general or the multidimensional nature of reality. Then I recommend that you come here and go see this amazing conference. It's going to be so much fun. I wish you peace, love, and light. Bye.